The shaggy cut that was very popular in the 1970s is a hit again right now. Many famous personalities undoubtedly wear it because it is indeed a cut that gives a lot of freshness, a refreshing look to the face, and can be worn by women both young and of any age. So I definitely invite you to watch this tutorial and learn step by step how to do it. I am Betty Lascano and thank you so much for joining me. In this tutorial, we are going to do the shaggy cut, so come along with me to do this tutorial. The sections I will use with her will be from ear to ear, and in the back we will carefully separate our first section about approximately 4 centimeters to precisely mark the cut. In this cut, I'm hardly going to cut anything. The length will be about 2 centimeters, so we'll leave almost the same length. This cut is characterized by having layers at the crown that create volume. It is a super trendy cut because it is very feminine, stylish, and elegant and chic. It's a cut that you can definitely style both straight and wavy, and it will give you a very fresh look. We carefully lower the neck section and cut at 0 degrees, taking precise measurements and taking into account the previous guide to ensure accuracy. If you like everything related to the world of beauty, it's important that every time you perform haircuts and styles, you practice thoroughly and several times before daring to cut the hair of people you are not familiar with, and techniques. Here, with these step-by-step instructions that I leave you, it's really easy for you to learn. I lower the third section and I simply just want you to notice that from this section onwards, I will start creating layers. The layers I am actually going to cut will also be at approximately 135 degrees. First, I carefully make my section in the exact center, then I cut it precisely, and after that, I move to the sides, lifting them gently just like in the previous procedure. If you observe here, I am actually taking into account the guide of the shortest hair here. Notice when I lift the hair which cut I am aiming for, always from the shortest part. I lift to 135 degrees and cut slightly. I move to the next side and then proceed to do the same procedure as I mentioned earlier, carefully. With this cut, you will achieve many layers and a lot of movement, but the frame of the cut will be straight, which is very important for both texture and definition. If you start layering too low, it creates an oval frame, which is not what you want. When the girls absolutely want a straight frame, this is the technique to create those layers. I very carefully lower the next section and very gently lift it the same as the previous one. In this section, I carefully follow the same step-by-step procedure as before, always guiding myself by the detailed and thorough previous guide. You have to discover a way to never lose this important guide. That's what will help you mark precisely where you need to cut. Watch how I position my fingers carefully and how I make this precise cut. I do the next side in a very similar and careful manner. Honestly, this cut looks really nice. I know you're going to love it when you see the end of this video. I carefully lower the next section from the crown and cut it the same way. We will cut the last 3 sections in the same manner, elevating to the same degree, taking into account the previous guide, and then we cut precisely. Once the crown is carefully cut, I will make a precise section at ear level and take out sections, twist them, and texturize with the razor. This detailed process ensures a refined finish. With this technique, you really get very clean and indeed beautiful texturizing, as I mentioned earlier. At the end of the video, you will notice how very nicely this cut settles, but it is definitely important to texturize it. If the model does not have as much hair, like in Stephanie's case, then do not texturize it. Just by adding layers, you will already achieve that movement. In Stephanie's particular case, she has a lot of hair volume and density. So it's extremely important to use this specific technique in order to make her hair look exactly as I mentioned earlier, with significantly more movement and much freer ends. What truly characterizes this unique cut is that when waves are styled properly, they appear very loose and exhibit a lot of natural movement. I texturize the entire back in the same way, leaving only a small section at the crown. It is very important not to texturize this part so that it adds weight and the mid-lengths remain lighter. At the crown, I texturize gently and carefully, and only from mid-lengths to ends. Here, the texturizing is lighter and precisely done. Once the back part is finished, I carefully lower a section and cut straight, taking into account the guide from the back part. I then lower another next section and cut straight again, precisely. Remember that my model wants a very straight bob, but with many layers. Once the outline of the cut is done, I carefully and precisely make a straight section from the crown to the ear, take a small portion of hair from the back, and use the shortest strand as a guide, elevate it to 135 degrees, and cut off the excess meticulously. I take the next section, carefully elevate it to 135 degrees, and guide myself by the shortest part. This way, I am now very carefully, precisely, and meticulously connecting the back cut with the sides. I want you to carefully observe what I am doing here. As you can see, I am not texturizing the lower part of the side. I am only taking a part of the section from the middle to the crown and texturizing it thoroughly. The foundation of this cut is layers and texturizing in this particular technique. I didn't texturize the lower part of the side because if I do, the frame of the cut becomes too diluted. That's why I'm only doing it on the upper part. I move on to the next section and perform the same procedure as before, carefully in this process. Once both sides are cut, it is very important to check one side against the other to see if there are any leftover ends. And if there are, you need to verify and cut them. It's time to cut the bangs right now. I've already made my section. It's an inverted V. I'm going to carefully divide these bangs into two parts because they are very heavy, and I want to make a more precise and exact cut. I carefully and precisely separate the middle section of my hair, bring all the hair gently to the center, and just look to carefully even it out, ensuring it is even since I'm going to keep the same length for the bangs. Next, I will carefully use the razor only from the mid-lengths to the ends to carefully and precisely remove weight so that it falls more naturally and beautifully. I lower the next section and shape the bangs. I want you to notice how I am positioning my fingers because I want the sides to be longer and the center shorter. Once the bangs are carefully cut, we will texturize again with the razor from mid-lengths to ends, precisely and gently with the utmost care. Finally, we are going to very carefully lift the bangs to 180 degrees, find the previous guide, and then gently cut them with thinning scissors. Observe how I am very carefully cutting with the thinning scissors. This is to create less thickness at the ends because I want it to have a lot of movement. It is a very layered, very blended cut, and I want it to have plenty of movement. That's why I am using the thinning scissors. These thinning scissors don't have much separation. Observe how the hair turned out. It's a natural dry, and look at the arrangement. It's a cut that is really easy to style. If you don't have time and live in a hurry, you can leave it to dry naturally. You can apply a hydrating gel like liquid sculpting from Genvir, which gives you a lot of movement, adds shine, provides softness, and styles your hair, and you can leave it to dry naturally. But in this case, we are going to style it because it's very important for you to see how this cut looks when styled. Indeed. Steffi is going to carefully and meticulously add some makeup touches, ensuring that my model looks like a glamorous star. To finish, we are going to apply the Extreme Hold Spray, this spray that sets with a lot of movement. I really love the look of this. Notice that the color she has from mid-lengths to ends looks very beautiful. It gives a very nice tone to her skin. But stay tuned for an upcoming video because we are going to do a coloring that I know you will also love. If you definitely want to go for a shade like this, it will look fabulous on any skin tone or the one we will do in the next video, so stay tuned. This is the final result, and honestly, I love it because it gives a very fresh look. It's a cut that is truly remarkable and takes years off, irrespective of your age. And as I mentioned earlier, it can be worn by young girls as well as women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s or older. Remember that bangs give a very youthful, fresh and stylish touch to the face. So I invite you to cut your bangs and enjoy the new look. If you don't want to do full cuts, it doesn't matter. Just cut your bangs and you'll see how your face will change. Family, here you have the tutorial for this absolutely beautiful and incredibly trending haircut that is trending right now. So I invite you to practice and practice repeatedly until you master the technique. Sending you a big hug and many blessings. See you in the next video.